secret location, the city that moves mountains.
Greetings.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick, saying I'm all out of bubblegum.
Simon says, hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Simon, you're not Australian.
I'm from the UK, man.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let's throw another shrimp on the bobby. How's everybody doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I am doing good. Everybody, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Here to Chew Bubblegum on the radio. We have a very special show today, a very special guest, and we all have Simon to thank for this. Simon, thank you very much for setting this up. I'm talking about UFO hunter and author of E.T. Rider and Alien Invasion Wells, Mr. Russ Collette. Russ, welcome to Here to Chew Bubblegum on the radio.
Hi there. Pleased to meet you all.
Russ, for those of you that may not be familiar with you, can you start out just by giving us a little background on yourself, telling us where you're from and how you first got interested in UFOs?
Yeah, certainly. I started off in this subject about over 30 years ago. And it was because that I'd had a number of close encounters and abductions and strange occurrences when I was a young child. And it finally really got started for me setting up a UFO club and investigating the subject of UFOs and abductions, because I'd had an abduction experience on my motorbike one evening, and then another one, and then I'd sold my motorbike and I'd got a scooter, and for a number of years I had a scooter, and the same thing happened. I'd been abducted on my scooter, and then I sold the scooter and I got back into motorbikes, and then building choppers and riding choppers. And then it just continued. And, this is the whole reason why I set up the British UFO Hunters and a couple of other groups and started investigating the UFO subject.
How old were you when you first set up the UFO club?
I'd have been about 20, maybe 20, 25, 20, 26, 27, maybe, something like that. But I'd actually been to my first UFO conference when I was about 15. And what it was, we'd seen it in paper, there was going to be a meeting where I lived back then in a place called Bradford, West Yorkshire. And me and a school friend were talking, we'd seen it in paper, and we said, we'd really like to go, and go talk and meet people and see what they had to say about UFOs and where they were. You wanted to know what was going on. But unfortunately, it didn't turn out like that. There were people in suits, and there was talking more about joining this group and becoming members. There wasn't really talking about, we're talking about one person and his experience and joining. To us, it was like more of a cult, if you know what I mean.
Right, yes.
And there was one thing shown and talking about one person. But we went really looking to see pictures, photographs and things like that of people that had actually witnessed UFOs, alien craft or whatever. And we felt a little bit like fish out of water, to be honest. Because we were only 15.
Right.
And these were like adults, all in suits and ties, and it was good, but it didn't make you want to go back again, if you see what I mean. So that was the end of it, and became 16, and you do things what 16-year-olds do. I was very lucky. I had a fantastic family, and they had a brand new motorbike bought for me for my 16th birthday, and I went out on that. So I always out on that, but this is when things started happening. I'm coming home, and I'm getting home later than I should have been, because I started 16, I was working at Initial Services, which was part of an American company, which were over here during Second World War, and they were making uniforms and cleaning overalls and all sorts of things. So I was having to go to work the next morning. I'm getting in late, and my parents not happy whatsoever. You should get in when you're working, Russell, the next morning. And I was getting in at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had no explanation. I've never drank. I've never actually drank. I've never taken drugs. As daft as it may sound, riding choppers, everybody says, oh, no. I'm into motorbikes. And the thing is, it just did not, in people's minds, it did not weigh up. Where have you been? So, friends are saying, it's got a girlfriend, sort of like. But no, I just could not explain. I've been coming home, and I'm 2 hours late, instead of getting in maybe late at 12 o'clock. So, and this had gone on. From 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then I had a bereavement in my family, and I went into sort of like scooters, and then started riding around them for a few years. The same thing happened. I was coming home, I was late home on my scooter, got rid of the scooter, got back into motorbikes again. The same thing happened. It did not stop. But it got worse. As things carried on, things got worse.
And it just kept going from there. Let me ask you a question, because this is something that we found out on the show last year, and it was a listener, I think, from actually Germany, maybe. They had wrote into the show, and with your expertise in this field, we've not been able to find much out. But are you familiar with the Black Forest UFO incident of 1936?
Yeah.
Okay. We basically, all we found out, and if you know more, please jump in and add your expertise. Basically, all we were able to find is that it was possible there was a UFO crash in the Black Forest in Germany, and that it was recovered by, the German army, and that Hitler controlled the media and he blocked everything out. But if you look at the timeline, and this is something that me, Dirty Dan, and Simon have been able to put together, the technology that came after that, before or during World War II, the technology that Germany had was leaps and bounds over anything that we had. Can you tell us about the 1936 Black Forest UFO crash?
Yeah, well, I think if I remember rightly, there was an alien alive. They got information. They kept it as, well, how can I put it? Nothing more than a prisoner, really, for a better word. And they exchanged information. And obviously, these things, well, the ones that I've met are like telepathic. They've got ESP. So they're keeping them, as a prisoner. They're learning from them. They know that there's something about them. They're scared that they're going to contact their race of aliens. you know, and they're communicating and trying to get as much information out of them as possible. So then you get into the occult, you know, you get people around Hitler, and they're all wanting to basically rule and whatever, take over, just like every other country in the world, you know, because that's the norm, power, you know, and keeping your country safe and dominating other countries. So the thing is, they've got this technology, and where they're going to go from there. So what they're thinking in their minds is that we've got all this technology, put it to good use. Now, the thing is, if you think about this logically, they must have been thinking that whoever has power, or I should say, whoever has better technology, better weapons, has power, supreme sort of thing. And that's what they thought they had. And that's what give them sort of like that push forward to say, look, with this kind of technology, with this lot on our side, because there's no doubt, I think Von Braun turned around and says, this technology didn't come from here. It came from up there. Flipping heck, I'm getting like him on television now. From up there. Sorry. Anyway, so the thing is, it's obvious what they started doing. Get everybody together, get working, start working on... They must have had some kind of technology. I mean, what they say is something as simple as Velcro came from these aliens, what the people call them, tunics, jumpsuits, whatever, flying suits, Velcro fasteners. You know, that came out in the 70s. People say that came from Roswell.
Yes.
If it was the same type of alien, which they're saying it were an alien grey, if I remember rightly, again, in Germany, you know, it's a case of probably the same uniform. Now, I've come across, again, myself, somebody who has said that they'd met alien greys at the side of a road. There were 5 aliens. They had these jumpsuits on with a belt pack, like a Sam Brown or what you call belt kit for carrying your equipment and weapons. And that's why I think on my book, just bear with us a minute. Not very, there it is. You can see they've got like belt kits and weapons.
Yes.
If you can see that. Anyway, so what would they be doing with a belt kit and weapons? Obviously, some kind of military unit. You know, so like I say, if the Germans got the technology, had the craft, they're trying to back engineer, just like the Americans supposedly did at Roswell. Mm-hmm. We had an incident before Roswell in 1945 where something landed in England, down in Kent, and nothing has really been said about this. And it was the last days of the war. I think it was the last day of the war, and this thing came down and it landed, and what they said, they thought it was some kind of machine. I wasn't sure whether they meant time machine or whatever, and they was going to try to abduct Winston Churchill.
We actually read a story or something like that on the show, Dirty Dan? I mean, we didn't go in depth, but we talked about it, I think.
I don't recall the Winston Churchill part, which that just intrigued me there. But yes, we have.
Russ, I'm going to ask one more question, and I don't mean to hog the airtime, Dirty Dan. I will let you ask the next question. I'm sure you're familiar with Admiral Robert Byrd.
Yeah.
Okay. 18 months after the war ended, he led a expedition to Antarctica. and he actually led several. But in one, in his diary, he made the statements that he encountered flying ships shooting, and he got in more or less a skirmish, a battle with flying craft shooting stuff. The U.S. was outmanned, outgunned, and they actually left and retreated. And then you've also, how many submarines from the Nazis went missing after World War II, Dirty Dan? Was it 37 that were unaccounted for?
So 53 U-boats originally went missing. They have accounted for 49 of them.
Okay. So you've got, so many still missing. And a lot of people make claims that, the Nazis had a base at Antarctica and that, there's a secret way to get there and this and that. And some people have emailed us maps and so forth, how to, if we had a U-boat or submarine capability, how to navigate there. Yes, actually, yes. And do you think first that what Admiral Byrd encountered was humans that had reversed engineered alien craft, or actual otherworldly creatures that he got into a battle with?
It's a strange one because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. Logic says if this technology was there at the time, yeah, and remember this is what, a year after, 2 years after?
Yeah. This was prior to Roswell. So I think it was like at the end of 1946 or early 47.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense. You've got flying vehicles, flying craft that can run rings around the fleet, whether it's, battle fleet, whether there's aircraft there, whatever. Now, if they had that technology, why didn't they use it during the Second World War?
And that's
like common sense says to me, you know what? Well, we'll kick their butts because we've got this technology. You won't turn around and sort of like do a runner to a cold place. You know what I mean? I wouldn't personally. I'd be sort of like somewhere in sun. Don't make any sense whatsoever.
I mean, I think the war came to an end a lot quicker than Hitler had initially thought it would.
But why?
Well,
if you've got that technology,
and that's I think as they saw it starting to come to an end, that's when, because all of a sudden you had your aircraft that were flying 250 knots was a fast aircraft, and then suddenly like the ME-262 or the ME-163, their sudden rocket and jet propulsion technology aircraft come out, and you have a jet that's flying 565 knots. That's more than double the fastest plane in the sky at the time. All of a sudden, they started pushing them. But I think they took too long to back engineer that technology or figure out how to use it.
Because if it took too long, you're only a matter of 2 years and you've got all these craft. You know what I mean? And then you've got to get from A to B, right? Yeah. So you've got to get from A to B. You've got to tunnel into ice and mountains, right? You've got to create an underground or under sea or both sort of like a base, right? So you've got to do that first. So you've got to do that first before you can build your craft. So it's a case of, so how long did it take him to build the craft? 5 minutes. Wouldn't he have been better off staying where you were in Germany and building that, that type of machine and craft back there? Because, it to me, it just does not make any sense whatsoever. It's I think personally myself, I think it's a red herring. I think there's, let's go Antarctica. They're already in your country, mate. You know what I mean? You don't have to go looking for them down there. They're in your country. They're running your country. They're running my country. They're in my country. they're in Europe, they're in Germany, they're in Russia. Yeah, they look like you and me. That's because they are you and me, because they've been abducted, and it's the people that, you know, my own personal view is that you do not know, from my point of view, when people have been abducted, you do not know what's been put into, they've been programmed. There's no mistake about this whatsoever, right? Yeah. So it's a case of, what are these people? Really, they could be sleepers. You don't know. I don't even think I know, to be quite honest. And I'm one of them. I'm one of those people that they take, unfortunately. You know, and it's always a worry. You know, what have they done to us? Because I had a full memory before. I had total recall of my memory until one day when I was sat talking to my dad one Sunday morning. He'd brought papers, we're talking, I was just reading, and all of a sudden something happened, the most bizarre thing, and my memory was taken. So all my abductions, I was telling people, I've lost friends. I couldn't go to meetings on my bike and what have you, meet mates and what have you, because I'm saying this happened, and they're giving it, oh God, Russ must be going crazy. He's talking about being abducted, you know. I told my friends and what have you, and it was a case of ended up with no friends. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I think personally that there's things going on, and you know, you just don't know really whether it was I could be mistaken. You see, the thing is, there's more than one alien race.
Isn't there?
So you know,
is there 7, or is there more than 7?
Oh hell, there's more than 7.
Okay.
I mean, for instance, there's what we'll call your normal alien greys. There's tall alien greys, which are like 6 foot tall. Then you've got very tall alien greys, which are like 10 foot tall. Then you've got blue. Well, no, you've got blue aliens like the greys, and you've got the blue tall aliens like the greys again. Then you've got reptiles, you know, dragos or whatever you want to call them. You've got the ones that took me were like tall, 10 foot tall human aliens, but they were bald. But, you know, some of them really looked really nasty. You know, like Nosferatu.
Yeah.
You know, the French Dracula. Maybe not as much prominent teeth, but they had that look about them. You know, some a bit not as, you know, sort of like the face, not as, you know, pulled in and what have you. So there's that type. Now, there was like 10 foot. The ones that worked alongside the 10 foot tall was the 6 foot, but they could change shape and height. But they'd been sort of like renegaded from the normal race, their own race, because they chose to fight instead of being like the rest, and they didn't believe in fighting. So there was like, you know, basically kicked out, but lived in cities, you know, and in like this big barracks where they were military, and they'd taken us. Right, because it was like a sin for them to fight. But what do you do if you're fighting another world, another alien race? So they were sort of like, you know, why make them renegade? I could never understand this, because it's like you're looking after your race by doing this, you know, but by fighting, it's like it was, oh, you don't, you know, let us do it instead, I suppose. Yeah. Not something what I really wanted to do. You know, I end up working, you know, in a unit with an alien race and all the other abductees.
We'll let's see. First, let me ask you, do you think that mankind will ever know the truth about other life forms, UFOs, UAPs?
I think they already know.
Well,
I think the government are that stupid, pig ignorant.
I think he means
Right,
like
yeah.
the greater humanity, like normal people, average people.
do you
Met
think
a normal person? Sorry, I've never met. I nearly swore. Sorry.
do you think
Never met one in my life.
do you think
What do
the
they look like? Sorry.
do you think the US government will ever come clean and say yes, these do exist?
I think that's all we need to know right there.
Well, listen, right, yeah. I think you've got a problem in America, a big problem.
Oh.
With, I won't say any more. We've got a bigger problem in England. You should see what we've got. And the thing is, people listen to him. You know, I've got people that are saying all sorts about this clown, right? Yeah. But yeah, they're wearing masks, they're getting injected. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, why are you laughing at him when you're doing what he's telling you to do? And behind your back, he's there on swing outside in garden with all his mates and what have you drinking, and you're all staying in. Yeah. How does that work? Sorry.
You're totally fine. In 2020, you hit the headlines when you made the claim that you saw singer Robbie Williams aboard a spacecraft in 1999. And Robbie, when asked about this, never denied the story and said no comment. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I was surprised he said no comment. I ain't going back, Russ. You know what you can do, mate. You know what I mean? I want to forget, Russ. Let's forget that, shall we? Yeah, I mean, I've never seen you be. Yeah, no comment, mate. Yeah, don't blame you. Don't blame you, mate.
Well, by him saying no comment, though, he never denied, what you were saying.
Listen, he's got children now, right? Yeah, he's a dad.
Right.
Right, yeah. He's been around, he's looked, he's told people, and Robbie Williams, and what's he doing? Looking for aliens and what have you? Well, he's at least he's been open to the subject and what have you. He's had a look. He's been really privileged. Some people couldn't have gone, to Skinwalker Ranch and around and looked around. But as I said, people over here, well, look, we've got enough going over here without going to America. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to go to America. But the thing is, we've just got as much. I've got things going on here, videoed, right? Yeah, evidence. And sort of like people have seen it and have gone, we're going to show that. I don't think so. I've even been told, from editors, look, mate, we've had a D notice clamped on us. Department, So it's a case of, we just cannot use your story. We can't talk about this.
I've actually got 2 videos myself when we bought a large piece of property, and I was out burning trash one night, and all of a sudden in the sky appeared a UFO. I've never seen any sort of aircraft be able to hover as steadily as this and almost gyrate in its motion, just kind of go like this. And then I stopped recording and almost immediately started recording again because it started moving towards me. And then it started disappearing on the screen and it would flash back up and disappear and flash back up and disappear. And these 2 guys have seen the video now. And then all of a sudden just gone right over my head.
Yeah.
Not a sound.
Yeah.
Just
I've filmed loads of stuff like that. I've been filming and I've been zapped by the ball of light that's moving. And you can see I had a friend who was disabled. I'm saying, look, can you see that? And he's saying, yeah. And what's that? And I'm looking. And I pulled the camera back. And as I pulled it back, right, to go back on the actual object, bang, 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 bang. 5, 6 balls of light come, hit me, and you can see them coming up to camera. You can see them. You slow it down, it's a second. It takes 1 second, and in that second you see, I think it's about 6 balls of light, actually hitting me, and it's come down from the craft that I was filming. I filmed flying triangles 300 feet away from where I'm stood, outside my house. We've got a bay coming out of the sea. 20 minutes I filmed, and there's things coming down, zapping these triangles, and then it just takes off and just goes down the bay. Then I'm filming 2 balls of light coming over, a slight red and a green tint, a bit like port and starboard. Problem is, there's no sound, there's no fuselage, there's no tail, there's no wings. And you can see, as it's traveling, you can see through the gap, you can see the stars. And people are saying it's an aircraft. Oh, it's an invisible aircraft then. But yet you can see, and then, like I say, being zapped on my motorbike, I was sat at level crossing, and I got zapped by this light, went home afterwards, 2 hours missing time. The next day, all my face is burnt. I had an open face crash helmet, and I've still got the scars now. Whenever I shave, you can see I've still got the scars on my face, my neck, back of my neck, and my hands. And then I remembered being taken, and I can tell you now, all the memories then just came back. Being in a room with this group of like Knights Templars, that was very odd, amazing, and basically, I got left behind. It's a long, drawn-out story, but that was another occurrence, another mission that we'd been on, and I got left behind on this planet, and there were these looked like Templars. They brought me back. They took me back from where they'd taken me, where I'd been captured as a prisoner, and I was lucky to be alive. And then my unit came and took me back to the planet where we are on this big base there. And I was not happy with, being left behind. I wasn't happy. Now, the thing is, we had to go through all this. It's unbelievable. When you get caught, if you come into close proximity, you get caught, you've got to go into quarantine, right? Yeah. You can't go back, join your unit or anything. And they basically put this like helmet on, and the look into your brain, into your memory, to see what has happened to you, to see if the other race had caught me, their enemy had done anything, put anything in my brain, to make me turn on my own unit. So you had to be like weeks in quarantine. There's loads of stuff. It's unbelievable, you know what I mean? Loads of kind of things. How we travel, I can tell you how we travel, It is just, you won't believe it. Different aliens, different type of craft, ships and everything.
Please tell us about traveling a little bit.
Right, well, when we're taken, the type that took me and their craft are like cigar shapes, but there's like these balls, and they can travel in these like balls. Now, when we travel with them basically in front of us, and they take us where we're going, right? And there's two, and we used to basically like have his hands out and travel with these like, what could you call them? A bit like bowling balls, and they'd be with us as we were traveling, right? Later on, we have a backpack, and they're at the side of us. And then when we get to where we travel to, they shoot into this backpack, right? Yeah. And but they're not as big, and technology's changed, Now the thing is, this is more or less what you would call a it's what do you call it, like teleportation. It's a form of teleportation. So, you know, when I see these balls of light traveling, I'm thinking, I think I know what that is. If you see what I mean.
I have
so
never.
we'd land, right? Yeah, and there'd be a unit there wherever.
I have never thought about that as teleportation, the balls of light. Dirty Dan, what's a question you want to ask?
Well, so he said, it started when you were on your motorbike, and then you got a scooter, and it started doing it again.
Yeah,
and then it got worse when you went back to a motorbike again.
Yeah.
And that I'm a gearhead, so this really caught my attention. And you're making choppers. If you look back on it, does it kind of coincide the more hardcore of a bike you had, the more you got taken?
No, the faster I went to get away from them.
So the more fight you put up.
Yeah, it's like, and racing, you know, like coming outside here and, you know, trying to beat it. And I'm sort of like trying to beat this thing at the side of the road. And I'm sort of like going full out. And I shouldn't, you know, really say this, but I was going pretty fast. You know what I mean? But I didn't break the law, honest officer. You know what I mean? My bike did about 150 mile an hour. Yeah. It did go 150 mile an hour as well. Maybe a bit less with my weight on it, but it still went fast. But don't tell anybody.
No. Your secret is safe with us.
And it flew past me at that as well. You know what I mean? Straight in front and straight up. Right, yeah. On the way home, when I'd been sat waiting, these lights had come down, and there's a what you call a level crossing. So I'm sat there waiting for these lights to come down, thinking that it's the rails coming down, yeah, and the train's going past, and then there's this beam of light hits me. The lights have gone up, and I thought, well, the guards are already up there. What are those red lights doing? And I'm looking around thinking I better move because I'm going to get knocked off my chopper here, you know what I mean? So as I'm going home, you know, like I say, this thing is following me and I'm flat out, you know, with a Japanese motorbike and being chopped, and I was flying, you know, down. And this thing, it came and it was about size of a Range Rover, and it went straight across the road. So, you know, sort of like I was a bit shocked, to be honest. You know, so I slowed down, pulled over, and I used to smoke, just normal cigs. So I pulled over at car park and where we used to go trail bike riding, and I was sat there thinking to myself, I watched it in the distance, and I'm thinking, you know, what was that? Now, I thought I'd better move it, get home, because I've got to work the next morning. My boss, a bit of a narc. Where have you been? Getting at a normal time. You know, anyway, all right, yeah. So I'm there pulling in, looks at the house, all in darkness, gets in, flipping heck, everybody's in bed. My dog came out, went for a wee, came back in. I thought, I'm going to have a coffee. And I thought, no, really, kettle boiling, I better get to bed, it's late. When I looked, 2:00. Can't be. Next morning, my mum's shouting, Russell, you should get in at a proper hour instead of when you've got to work the next morning. Anyway, cut long story short, goes in work, and I work with about 150 women. I feel sorry for them, really. They don't work with me, but anyway, goes in, and as soon as I get through the door, helmet off, and it's, Russell, have you seen your face? I go, have you seen your face? No, really. Have you seen it? You know, it's all red, and have you overdone it on the sunbed? You know, what? Go have a look. Go in office and have a look. Goes in office, my face, where my crash helmet had been, you know, we're all red like sunburn, proper sunburn. And then, unfortunately, I started after that, a few days later, I started being really ill. And, you know, I think I sold my motorbike after that. if I remember right. It wasn't long after because things got gradually worse. I couldn't even hold my motorbike up. And then I was diagnosed with something called ME. So my life took a bit of a turn for the worse.
What
That was after you were abducted.
Well, the thing is, you know, at that point, yeah, I remembered what had happened, but I remembered being in this circular room. There were a checkerboard floor. There were these poles with these balls of light, the same balls of light that I travel with. But yet it wasn't the alien race that I was in a unit with. So I couldn't understand what had gone on. And then, you know, like I say, I remembered being left behind, and they took us and they said, "You're only alive because you didn't kill one of our brothers and what have you, you know, soldier." And I could have, and because I didn't, that was the only reason I were alive. Put me back where they took me from. I'd been a prisoner, but because I'd been a prisoner, when the unit, my own unit, came back for me, which I wasn't pleased about, you know what I mean? And I was put in quarantine in the base, a different part of the base. And then basically, you know, they put this helmet on, and they can see, you know, if anything had been put in, if my memory had been taken out and what have you. And then years later, then the same thing happened, and my memory was taken. A lot of my memory, I had a lot written down, a lot of the stuff written down, what had happened to me, and that's in my book.
And the books that you've written, E.T. Rider and Alien Invasion Whales, we can find those on Amazon, correct? Is there
That's
anywhere
right,
else
yeah.
we can get those?
At the moment, they're on Amazon. Because it's all new to me, this. A friend said, "Look, you really need to get your story out there." But I've just had some amazing news over 2 days. The book went out for sale. Somebody got into my computer and hacked and stopped me and did something. I won't go into it, but I had to set everything up again for the book to go back out again. But what's happened is one of the witnesses, because there was a battle, this is why it's called Alien Invasion Wales. Wales is in UK. It's got its own little country is Wales, you know, in the UK. And basically what had happened was that there'd been a battle out to sea in the Irish Sea, and there'd been depth charging these craft below the sea. And what happened was they brought these craft out, they'd hit them, and there were a battle started. And it went on all night, and it went on from the sea to the mountain range, and there was at least about 15 craft. There was one main one. I found witnesses to a second one, then a third, then a fourth, then got some documentation from the night, right, which was the police logbooks, and they're all in the book. Just show you. In the book, there's all the documentation here from the police logs. All the documentation from the police logs. Names all taken out and what have you. There's over 50 odd documents in there, and there's problems with what they said really happened on that night. There's a lot of problems with what the police said happened. There was witnesses that are on the television talking, never mentioned in any of the documentation, right? But yet I've got this witness statement from the men that drove past going home from a men's club. It was a meeting, and on the way home, they saw this craft at the side of the road and 5 aliens. 2 of them had been injured, and no sooner were they looking, the army came round, told them to move, and took them away. So I've got the witness statement from them, and I've been researching that for 25 years. So,
Are you familiar? Are you familiar with the movie Men in Black?
oh, of course, yeah.
How, in your opinion, how?
Hey, Dirty Dan, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I'm going to step away when you ask that last question, and I'll be right back.
How accurate do you think that movie is, or is there any specific part or scene from any of those movies in that series that stands out to you that is realistic to your experience?
Yeah, but they're not as nice.
Okay.
Yeah. You would not want to mess. These guys, you know, it's like, you know, they don't have to be big. They don't have to look, you know, sort of like, you know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. You know, these be 5 foot tall, you know, 5 foot something. And they don't have to be big, but the whole demeanor, the facial expression, the look, you can feel it. You know what I mean? You can feel it when they're talking to you. Intimidation. You know? So it's very much like when you're looking at that film, Men in Black, it's very much like chocolate box. Something nice and laugh. Let's laugh and, you know, aliens. It's not about that whatsoever, unfortunately. It's about a war that's going on, and these people come to put the frighteners up you to shut you up. You know?
So the general picture you think of what we've had painted about UFOs or other life forms out there is the complete opposite of what it actually is then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need to worry. People need to worry. And when the government tell you, and the Pentagon come in and say, this is a tic-tac UFO. Yeah, seen them, you know, sort of like fought against them. You know, it's the other things you want to start worrying about that are around. It's like, you know, when you see people on television and there's conflicts and they've all got sneaky beaky gear, all in black with balaclavas on, who are they? Who are they exactly? You know, they're in a country. How do you know that they're that country's army? How do you know that it might be us? It might be abductees, right? Yeah, that have been taken and put there and doing what we've been sent to do. It might be offing somebody. It might be lifting somebody. You know what I mean? It might be taking other people. No idea just what is really going on. And it could be not only in you know, Eastern Bloc, it could be in America, South America, in my own country. You know, they can make anything. They can produce uniforms, you know, sort of like they can take people, they can put you there within a matter of seconds. That unit there, you know, can just disappear. You know, and it's a case of, oh, where did they come from? Oh, they must have gone back to the barracks where they're the base. You'll never find them. There's some places like that probably in your country where you're driving down a road and you're thinking to yourself, I'm sure there's a vehicle down there, and where's it gone? There's certain places and there's certain roads, and they have like, how can I put it, doorways. You know, I think they're usually for you know, engineering. You know, like if there's something he's doing, they'll have these sort of like slip roads and stuff. And sometimes I have been told some of these slip roads, there's places where you wouldn't believe there's doors, and you've got to look close, and these doors will open, and vehicles can go in, and they're hid in plain sight, but they're just so well made that you just won't be able to tell.
I will 110% agree that.
You know, and the other thing is, you might see a building and it'll say, let's for instance call it Chuck's Chickens, right? Yeah. And there's Chuck's Chickens over there, and you think that all these chicken, you know, like, and that's what they do. But there might be all military at work at Chuck's Chickens. You know what I mean? You can just see him at knife with chickens. Sorry. But you know what I mean? So, and he's kind of coming for you next. So, no, can't say that kind of. But you know what I'm saying? It's a case of just because there's a warehouse there or a factory there, you think that they might be all military and they're all working there and driving around, not in uniform, but they're all actually active in the units, right? Yeah. And they're doing things, and you have no idea what they're doing. I mean, it could be undercover, this, that, and the other, but it could be something else, quiet, sinister. Well, I mean, other things are sinister, don't get me wrong. But it's what I'm saying is it's a good, like, ploy, isn't it, to be impersonating just some normal bods working and what have you, riding around. And, you know, the thing is, you just don't know what could be in those wagons, you know, Chuck's chickens and what have you.
Right under our noses, and we have no idea.
No, you wouldn't have, because they're so good, you know. The grey men out there, they fit into any circumstances. You know what I mean? But you can smell them, actually. A bit like police. Can I say that? You can smell them a bit. You know what I mean? If you're into motorbikes or cars, you just know. You know what I mean? Know when to go fast, when to go slow. And you'll have people driving and going, you know, flashing lights, you know, like you can smell them around. And you just know there's something not quite right. And there's quite a few places like that in England.
There's quite a few places like that over here, too, trust me.
Yeah, there is. We've got about 8 minutes, well, about 7 minutes left. Roswell, July 7th, 1947. And I've said on the show that the first explanation that the military put out, I think that was the real one, because they never prepared for that and for anything like that to happen. Do you agree with that? And what's your take on Roswell?
Yeah, well, the thing is, if it was unexpected, which it seems it was unexpected, and the guy's doing his job, you know, he doesn't know, you know, like, not to say anything. He's just, look at this lot, you know, they've landed here. They're not like us. They look like aliens. You know, it's in the flying saucer. And they're saying, oh, God, yeah, who have you said that to? Well, they came and they wanted to know. And, no, you don't say that, no. And we'll explain it. We'll explain it for you.
And, you know, that's what we've always said, too. And the technology that came after Roswell, you had the transistor, you had the fiber optic cable, you had Kevlar, which, you know, bulletproof vest, Velcro, like you mentioned.
Night vision.
Yes. I forgot about that. Night vision. Dirty Dan, I'll leave you with the last question.
If there was one thing that you had to boil it down to either say to inform or warn people about, what is it?
When your government tells you this is what it is, never believe them. When they say, it's all right, it's this, and they start telling you, start worrying, because it's not that, it's something a lot worse. And the other thing is, when somebody spent 25 years saying, oh, I can neither confirm or deny, and then all of a sudden they start talking, it's a pity you didn't talk and say that 25 years ago. Never trust a G-man. Can I say that?
Yes, you can. Very good answer. Very good answer.
Never trust a G-man.
Dirty Dan, I guess we'll wrap things up. I want to thank our special guest, Russ Collette. His books are available on Amazon.com. He is the author of E.T. Rider, Alien Invasion Whales, and he's also a UFO hunter. Russ, I do want to invite you back on this show, and I also want to invite you on the podcast show sometime. On the podcast show, we have no time limit. Nothing's off topic. We can talk about anything you want to. Thank you very much for gracing us with your time and knowledge. And again, it was an honor to meet you and talk to you.
Well, the same. It's been an honour to be on your show, and thank you very much for having me. It's been really, really nice to sit down and to actually be able to talk comfortable with a group of people, basically make you at ease, being on your show. Thank you very much for having me on.
We appreciate those words.
And thank you.
Yes, and you're welcome back anytime.
And Seth and you too, Goose.
You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum with Goose. We'll be back after these messages.
Are you a horror movie fan?
Yeah, I dig horror movies.
Are you searching for a great internet horror talk radio show to listen to?
Why, sure, that sounds quite spiffy.
Then you need to tune in to deadpit.com. It's the original horror talk radio show. Dead Pit is a show by the fans and for the fans. Uncensored and unbiased opinions are the goal of the show, giving fans honest reviews on new films and vintage classics of the horror genre. Make deadpit.com your #1 horror station destination.
Hey everybody, it's John the Bod, aka the Bodfather. I have a new podcast entitled Beyond the Paranormal, which is on every Tuesday night on Beyond the Paranormal YouTube page, and we'll be streaming shortly on our Facebook page as well. If you want some information on the paranormal and cryptids such as UFOs, Bigfoot, Dogman, come and check out Beyond the Paranormal every Tuesday on Beyond the Paranormal podcast YouTube site, and also soon on our Facebook page. Keep checking back, folks. We're going to have a lot of great guests, a lot of great information. Have a good one.
Keep from hiding, and I'm bound to keep on riding. I got one more silver dollar.
Listeners of the show, don't forget you can always call, text, or leave a voicemail by calling 606-373-3396. That's 606-373-3396. Or they can email. How can they do that, Dirty Dan?
You can email in to Goose at HereToChewBubblegum.com, DirtyDan at HereToChewBubblegum.com, or Simon at HereToChewBubblegum.com. Or you can email into the show, Ned or Elliot in general, is HereToChewBubblegum at Yahoo.com.
And Dirty Dan, closing things out, you want to tell us about Carbon Capture Shield?
Well, I'll tell you about all three of them. While we were waiting to hear back from our next contestant, we'll call him, be sure to check out lawn.carboncaptureshield.com. That is DJ Nikki's company. VIP spots coming to an end soon, so get on that website, reserve yours, help make the earth a better place, save yourself, save your planet, save your family. Go check out Till Valhalla Project, spread the message, spread the word, and go check out Adventures with Purpose on YouTube, or go to their website, adventureswithpurpose.com.
And I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work, and be sure to check out friends of our show that have their own shows. I'm talking about CK and Uncle Bill over at deadpit.com, Talk Junkie with Justin Perkins, Jordan and Brad of Down on the Holler, Seth Ambergy with Seth's Daily Podcast, Elliot, Gertie, and Beagle of SpookyFamilyPodcast.com, and if you were a fan of Cronkite, he now goes by Paranormal Trucker, and you can catch him, Snowman, and Large Marge over at Paranormal Trucker on YouTube.com. And don't forget about Beyond the Paranormal Podcast with my friend John Marshall every Tuesday at 8 p.m. You can find Beyond the Paranormal Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you want to awaken more, be sure to check out Rebecca Short on TikTok and Twitch. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, so long for now.
Maybe I'm not leaving. Maybe I'm just going home.
Like a solar flare. We're out.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.